Cześć! It's Michalina from Coffee That Gives It Back. Today is really nice weather here in Christchurch, so I'm taking you again up the hills. Like here. Would you just look at this? Wow! So this is the second episode of Coffee Brewing Series Tips, and today I will be talking you through the brewing equipment and things that are correlated with it. And here, yeah, somewhere here, you'll find the link to the list of all the other important things worth remembering when making the coffee. But there will be more about each of them in the future episodes, so don't forget to subscribe my channel, just so you don't miss anything. Also, don't forget to hit that bell button, just so you get notifications when I release new videos. I don't know why I pointed here, I don't know where the bell is. Right, and now let's find me some spot where I can sit down and talk to the camera with the safe manner, because I don't want to break my leg. All right, looks good to me. Let's do it. Not all the coffees go well with all the coffee brewing equipment, and that might be very much intertwined with the roast profile. As you know, because I've talked about them here, there are three main types of roast profile. That is a light roast, medium roast, and dark roast. If you want to, you can brew whatever type of roast profile with whatever brewing equipment. However, what if I told you that we can divide all the brewing equipment into 4 categories, and then we can choose the coffee accordingly to the category in order to achieve the most balanced coffee? What exactly I mean by balanced coffee? Remember the episode where I was giving you suggestions on what to focus on first when you drink the coffee? My recommendation of what you can try doing is to recognize sweetness, acidity, and bitterness in the coffee first. Balance in coffee is a perfect combination of those 3. All of them are present in your cup, but neither of them dominates in an unpleasant way. And it doesn't mean that there are coffee that are not sweeter than others, or more acidic than others, more bitter than others don't exist. It would be very unlikely to find the coffee when all of the 3 attributes stay on the same level, and quite frankly it would be very boring. There's too many options what we can do with coffee in the coffee production and with so many coffee brewing techniques. Also, for all of us, the little preferences about the nuances with the balance might be also different, so you basically work around this. In general, when you're making the coffee, you're looking at making something overall enjoyable, something that none of the attributes obscures the others, but only complements each other. Just like you need a balance in your life, you need balance in your coffee. For that reason, choosing the roast profile accordingly to the brewing equipment that you own is a very easy way to discover your particular coffee bean's potential for balance. Before we go any further with this, a little disclaimer. I really hope that you're not expecting me to name every single existing brewing equipment on the planet, because I really don't know all of them. And I don't own all of them, very sadly. But there are a few most common ones, and I hope that I've chosen ones that you might be familiar with, so it will be easier for you to wrap your head around it. The common ones have a lot of brothers and sisters, and honestly I think that most of them work on very similar principles, so let the common ones be like a starting point for you. On many specialty coffee bags, you will find an information about the roast profile, and sometimes even suggestions when it comes to brewing techniques. But if there is none of the suggestions, try to remember that in general, the darker the coffee is, the quicker it extracts. So the darker coffee needs less time to be fully extracted to desirable level of the balance. It's actually quite cold. Let me just get my jumper on. Okay, let's continue. Moja ściąga. With that said, the first category will be revolving around the equipment that allow you to make your coffee quickly. The brewing methods that require using lower coffee to water ratio, the ones that perhaps involve a little bit of pressure, a little bit or more. So espresso machine and moka pot could be easily locked in this group. When it comes to coffee machine, it's usually only around 25 up to 35-ish seconds and your coffee is really nicely extracted. Your time of extraction shouldn't be really exceeding more than 2 minutes-ish when you brew the coffee with the moka pot. And so for me that's quick like that, I would recommend using anything from dark to medium roast. I'm personally not a very big fan of dark roast, but I know that people like it, so here we go. But definitely medium. Coffees like that are very much prepared for the extraction, for opening to extraction, already by the development caused by the roasting process. As a result of brewing this type of roast profile coffees with this type of coffee brewing equipment, you get very nice and thick texture in your cup. Coffee can be having the texture of a syrup. It's very oily sometimes, so it very nicely combines with milk or milk alternatives. But let me try some coffees for you. In order for you to trust me that brewing equipment and roast profile can be very much correlated, I decided to make and drink 3 coffees, all done in moka pot but with different beans each time. First with beans roasted lightly, for second I used medium roast, and for the third one I used commodity coffee to see if it will be easy for me to recognize it among specialty beans. I tried to make these coffees as yum as I possibly am capable of doing so I made very precise recipes for each one of them, taking all the parameters like water temperature and grind size into consideration, so their taste would be a reflection of their roast profile only and not of potentially poor brewing skills. I really wanted to see if I will be able to pick which coffee was which while tasting them blindfolded. For that I needed an assistant who would mix the cups, so I had no clue what is where. But after taking only few sips, I could easily recognize them. Number 1 was clearly more acidic than others, number 2 was way more balanced, and number 3 was awful. This is light roast. Roast. So number 1, I can smell this is number 3. Number 3, so this one will be the medium dark roast. Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. Number 3. The second category would involve brewing equipment that is designed to make your coffee slowly, where there is usually no pressure at all, just the gravity, where the ratio between water and coffee is higher, and when you are required to lose this. So methods like 360, Chemex, Melitta, any filter coffee machines. For any of this brewing equipment, you could use the coffee that was roasted a little bit lighter, because that type of coffee naturally needs more time to open for extraction. Otherwise it would taste too watery and too acidic. It would be not that nice and the body would be very, very thin. Just anything that you pour your water over the coffee in a very nice and stable flow. Anything that results in around 200 grams of coffee at once or more, and that the texture is not as thick as the espresso shot, but still very pleasant. If you used really dark roast or very sort of medium, dark medium roast coffee for those methods, I assure you the coffee would taste perhaps very bitter and you wouldn't enjoy it that much. I'm gonna drink some coffee now as well. So here, same principles. Although this time I'm gonna drink coffees made with Melitta wave. Time of those coffees extractions was close to 3 minutes, so light roast brewed really nicely. Very easy to recognize, although for medium roast it was a bit too long and it made coffee in the mug number 2 tasting noticeably more bitter than the one in mug number 1. Okay, this is 3 commodity coffee, 100%. This is one. Yeah, this is number 2. So this is probably the darker roast. And this one is really nice. So I gotta get going because the weather changed really fast here, as it does in New Zealand, and it's freezing cold. But let me talk you through the third category that involves equipment that is so adjustable that it would be very unfair if I would classify it to the categories really dependent on the roast profile. With this kind of methods, you really don't have to worry this much about the roast profile because it gives you so many options of how you can make the coffee that no matter what type of roast profile you have, you can adjust it with the ratio or with the way how you use the equipment so much that you can still make a coffee with quite dark roast and very light roast. And definitely one of the brewing equipment that you can log into this group is the AeroPress. This equipment is so versatile that you can have a really dark roast and you can make a coffee that is very similar to like espresso style coffees. And on the other hand, if you have really light roast and you tweak a thing or two, you can also achieve really nice coffee, something that will be more like a filter coffee, but it will also taste amazing. So there is definitely many options to discover. It's very flexible, and let me just drink some coffee again. Again, 3 different roast profiles, same method, and very well caffeinated Michalina. Commodity coffee, as always, was very easy to tell, but both Mac number 1 and Mac number 2 had really nicely balanced coffees in them, and if I had to choose which one I liked the better, I would have a problem making a decision. This is trickier one. 3, 2, 1. This is commodity. And there is also the fourth category that is a little bit opposite to the third category, but also a little bit similar. In the opposition to the third category, it's not how much you can adjust, but how little you can do. And here I talk about very well-known French press. These methods are really so simple that there's this much you can change about them, and it's really up to your personal preferences about what type of roast profile coffee you prefer. You just really pour the coffee in your vessel, you pour the water into it, and you steep the coffee for a certain amount of minutes, and it's done. And yes, you're right, I'm gonna be drinking coffee again. Well, you know the drill. At this stage, I was really happy I didn't come up with more categories for this episode, as I could barely handle more coffees. Seems like the assistant enjoyed his role more and more with each round though. Anyway, yes, all the coffees tasted differently. Really, no surprises here. Number 3. Number 2, number 1. This is nice. This is also nice. This is disgusting. Number 1, number 3, number 2. Such an expert. That's all for today. Can you believe it? There's no wind right now whatsoever. That's my luck. But just a reminder, they are not the ultimate rules of how to make your coffee with what type of equipment. There is just a guideline of how to start and how to use it to your advantage. Stick around for more episodes. So again, subscribe to my channel. In future episodes, I will be focusing on different parameters, so you will be closer to making the coffee like a pro, each video at the time. Peace and coffee. Really hope I'm in the camera.